Hello again, everyone. The Snowman here, and we just wrapped up the 2019 US Open. The final Grand Slam of the year is now in the book, so today I wanted to give my 7 biggest takeaways from the US Open, kind of put a bow on the Grand Slam season, and look ahead to the rest of the year. And for me, we've got to start out at number 1 with Bianca Andreescu. My first takeaway is that Andreescu is the new ruler of the WTA. Maybe it's an overreaction. Maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, as the young Canadian just won her first Grand Slam title, became the first teenager to win a major since Maria Sharapova back in 2006. Also became the first Canadian to ever win a Grand Slam singles title. And I hate to flex a little bit, but I did see this one coming. I did tweet a couple of weeks ago that Andreescu, I thought she was the best choice to win the US Open. Also got a few other predictions wrong. Sorry, Novak. But Andreescu, you could definitely see this one coming. She has been so consistent this year. Her record now stands at 45-4 on the season. And one of those 4 losses was a retirement, so not even a complete match in Miami. But she could be number 1 right now. Had to miss a lot of time. Only played 1 match between Miami in March and then Toronto in August. So she missed a ton of time with a shoulder injury. And I think she's right there, though. One of the best players in the world. Still has a chance, actually, to end this season at number 1. She has vaulted in the rankings now to number 5. But just her ascension into stardom has been incredible. Last year at this time, she was playing qualifiers at the US Open, didn't even make the main draw, so she's come a long way. And I've spoken about her game many times this year on previews. My US Open preview, I went over her game in depth, though. It's all about the power, the forehand, the variety, the drop shots. Most of all, though, the intangibles with Andreescu. I think she wants it more than like any other player she plays against, and she just has this incredible fearlessness and warrior mentality. Like, she's going to get it, and she's going to win a whole lot of Grand Slams, and she'll be the number 1 player for a long time if she keeps this up. I think Coco Gauff and Amanda Anisimova, 2 young Americans who are probably going to be 2 of her biggest rivals throughout the next 15 years or so. But right now, it's set up for Andreescu to dominate tennis. She could be looking at double-digit Grand Slams, and I think it's even more different, though, than Naomi Osaka a year ago. I mean, I really feel like you can go all in on Andreescu because she has the mental side. She's a little bit more of a gamer, doesn't let pressure affect her like Osaka does. She just seems kind of numb to all the pressure, and that's what I think Bianca has going for her moving forward. All right, for my second point now, I want to switch over to the men's side, and that is that the GOAT race may be closer than you think. Rafael Nadal picking up his 19th Grand Slam title over the weekend, his 4th ever US Open, and that brings the overall tally, if you were keeping track, to Federer at 20 Grand Slams, Nadal 19, Djokovic 16. I just think because Fed is a little bit older than those other 2 guys, he may be, maybe he has 1 more left in him. But even at 21, that might not be enough to stave off Nadal and Djokovic, who are still going strong. Novak right in the prime of his career still. We know he won, 4 of the last 6 Grand Slams at this point. And Nadal, next French Open, he could be looking at tying Roger Federer, if not earlier, down under in Melbourne. So Nadal is right there. Djokovic is going to be right there in a couple years, you would think, as well. I just think because Federer was the first onto the scene and people love Federer so much, myself included, he has kind of gotten this preconceived notion that he is like 100% definitely the GOAT and nothing is ever going to change that. But I know Grand Slams isn't the end-all, be-all, but we might have to reconsider because Nadal is so close at this point. Djokovic is right there as well, and I think in the end, it could be closer to a 3-GOAT thing than maybe just Federer being above these other 2 guys, because it's very hard to separate at this point what Nadal has achieved through his career, and I just think it's very impressive. He had an easy draw this US Open, didn't have to play a top 10 player, I believe, until the final against Medvedev, but give credit to the Spaniard. He definitely got it done in New York. And speaking of Daniil Medvedev, my third takeaway is that the young Russian is great for tennis. Just aside from his phenomenal summer, which has been a thing to marvel at, last 6 weeks, he's made the final in Washington, D.C., the final in Montreal, won his first ever Masters 1000 title in Cincinnati, and then, of course, this amazing run to the U.S. Open final. He's a top 5 player now, but even more than that, I think it's the personality, the likability of this guy. His post-match interview fun stole the show in my eyes. Got fined in the third round against Feli Lopez for the obscene gesture to the crowd. His 2 interviews, though, after that Lopez match and then after the Kupfer match, just the ultimate trolling performance, thanking the crowd for the boos, giving him energy, him feeding off that. Multiple times Medvedev said he was going to pack it in between injuries and lack of energy, just overall fatigue affecting him. He was about ready to call it quits this tournament, but you could see he was running on fumes. Got that energy from thousands of beautiful New Yorkers, and he used that to fuel this astonishing run. So Medvedev, I think now the emotions have kind of leveled off, and I think all that hate is being turned into love and admiration, and a lot of guys are now big fans of Medvedev. I'm right there with them. I think he's a big personality, and he's a 6'6", 23-year-old who's going to be around for a long time, much like Andreescu is. And I just think that the future's definitely bright for Medi. Number 4, I'm saying the serve and volley isn't dead yet, and that is because the remarkable run of 23-year-old American Taylor Townsend, who is the 116th ranked player in the world. Heading into the U.S. Open, Townsend had to go through qualifying, won 3 tough qualifying matches, including in the second round when she was down a set and 5-1 in a second set tiebreaker, but she did not stop fighting, and her Cinderella run to the round of 16 was remarkable. Most importantly, though, she upset Simona Halep in the second round, and her tactics were clear: spend as much time at the net as humanly possible. We saw Townsend play 106 net points against Halep, consistently employing serve and volley methods throughout her run in New York. And for me, the biggest takeaway is that she can be successful with this style of play. It's been a rocky road, kind of breaking through, moving from the juniors to the pro tour for Townsend. It's been a tough last few years. We haven't seen the serve and volley tactic obviously as much in the last 10, 15 years as much as we did in the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's because of improvements in technology. Tennis rackets are better. Players are hitting the ball way harder than they did 30, 40 years ago. But I think Townsend can do it. And an interesting point I heard from Patrick Mouratoglou on the ESPN broadcast like a week ago. He said most women aren't used to hitting passing shots. They don't practice that much in practice. They don't practice hitting lob shots. A lot of people were calling for Halep to use more lob shots against Taylor. But because so few women charge the net, women players, in turn, are not used to doing that. So I think it's a huge advantage that Townsend has working in her favor. It was a magical tournament for her, and I think she and the serve and volley tactic is here to stay. Number 5 now, going to another player who had a crazy run in New York, and it was redemption for Grigor, who came into the U.S. Open much like Taylor Townsend, ranked very highly. He was number 78 in the world, had lost 7 of his previous 8 matches, hadn't made a quarterfinals since January. And for Dimitrov, hopefully this run will kind of re-kickstart his career. Back in 2017, he ended the season the number 3 player in the world, won a Masters 1000 event in Cincy, also won the ATP Tour Finals. And he has had a lot of confidence issues in the last couple of years. Fortunate draw, though, for Dimitrov. Got a walkover win in the second round against the 12-seed Borna Coric. Also played the match of his life against Roger Federer in the quarterfinals. Beat Fed in 5 sets, varying his shot selection and keeping Fed uncomfortable all night long. He's also working with Andre Agassi right now, and hopefully we see Dimitrov, one of the most well-liked guys on the tour, regain his top form. Certainly, though, promising signs in Flushing Meadows for Dimitrov heading forward. Number 6, the Stanimal remains Joker's kryptonite, and one of my favorite matches to watch of the tournament was the round of 16 encounter between Stan Wawrinka and the number 1 player in the world, Novak Djokovic. Stan won it after 2.5 sets. Djokovic had to withdraw with a shoulder problem, but that was quite a moot point because Wawrinka really just outplayed him. For Stan, it was the 4th time he's knocked out Djokovic at Grand Slams in just the last handful of years. He has been one of Joker's biggest weaknesses, and it was a perfect matchup for Stan. I think Djokovic, he doesn't have the offensive tools to rush Wawrinka, so when you give him enough time, he can unload off of both wings from the baseline. It is that combination of power and consistency. You can't really rush Stan into too many mistakes when he is on fire. Him and Dominic Thiem are kind of the 2 players who I think have the matchup the best against Djokovic. Fed, he doesn't have the Djokovic can just defend too well against Fed, and that frustrates Fed. But look, Wawrinka is an offensive machine from the back of the court, so he likes being given time, and Stan continues to be a big match player, whether it is the 2017 French Open semifinals, beating Andy Murray there. 2015 French Open final, beating Djokovic. Another final where he beat Joker in the 16 US Open final, also beat Nadal back in the Aussie Open final in 14. We've seen Stan bring his best A-plus tennis when the lights are the brightest, and at age 34, I think Wawrinka has one more signature run in him. So good to see him, though, return from that knee injury that saw his ranking drop a big time in the last year or so. I'm happy Stan is back. And my final takeaway from the 2019 US Open: adversity continues to be a theme for ATP's next wave of kings. And 3 players I want to single out in particular: Stefanos Tsitsipas, Dominic Thiem, and Alexander Zverev, who have had very shaky summer Grand Slam seasons. At Wimbledon and the US Open, these 3 guys, you're talking about Tsitsipas, he lost first round at Wimbledon and first round at the US Open. That's being a top 8 player both times. Dominic Thiem, the same exact thing. He was ousted in the first round of Wimbledon by Sam Querrey, also lost in the first round at the US Open. Zverev did a little bit better in New York, made the round of 16, but he also lost first round at Wimbledon. So these 3 have really struggled, and it's been an ongoing theme this year. Young players achieving great success at early ages, but then taking steps back. You could also probably throw Naomi Osaka, Aryna Sabalenka, Karen Khachanov into this group as well. I think it's just a confidence and a mentality thing, something that I don't think is going to roadblock Andreescu as much because, as I mentioned, she's got the intangibles way better than any of these players. But it's something to be said about the process of becoming a consistent star on the tour. For Thiem, yes, you could say that the different surfaces have a large part to play as well. Thiem is never going to be a great player on grass. He's always going to make the bulk of his money on clay. But for Tsitsipas and Zverev, they have a lot of work to do. Zverev has to shore some things up on the serve, which completely let him down in his loss against Diego Schwartzman. And Tsitsipas, he just got to reinvent that mojo that we saw down under when he beat Federer at the Aussie Open. These 3 in particular, though, Tsitsipas, Thiem, and Zverev, they all still have a great shot of making the ATP year-end finals in London, but it's been some shaky form lately, and hopefully they get it back together. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know your favorite things about this tournament. If you think Andreescu is as real as I do. If you think the GOAT race is as tight as I do. Certainly a lot of fun things, though, happening in the sport of tennis right now. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.